Alex Hanser here. It is April 22nd, 2016. This morning's video is going to be about surviving one day at a time. And that's exactly what I've been doing. Here I am 1 year after returning to Colorado. I find myself in a strange little city. It's its own twilight zone, if you will. And even though there's the harshness of the modern world that can be found here, there's also goodness. I feel like I am meant to contribute something to this area. And I'm in a state of wait. I'm in a state of patience and reflection. You see, I've been living mobily, consistently, since September of 2012. And that's when I first officially went off the grid. In the state of Colorado, in the county of Costilla, and then my adventures continued. Of course, I've had some interesting adventures in Oregon as well, but my first real off-the-grid experience and being away from people, and being left to my own thoughts, spending time in meditation, building that solar flare presentation PowerPoint that I did in 2013 that was done off the grid in the yurt, in a structure that is actually illegal in that county. So there's a lot of good memories, a lot of things that I have learned, but I can really feel with this recent full moon, and knowing that we are completing this solar cycle. However, there's still geomagnetic activity. It seems now every week, it seems that this solar cycle is completing itself with a bang. I've talked about the effect of solar cycles in human consciousness, the influence of the sun over humans moving, migrating to a certain part of the planet. A lot of people don't think about these things, but it's happening. And so as we look at these protests right now, as we look at, this whole thing between Trump supporters and Trump protesters in Portland, Oregon, you're looking at a near riot. It really looked more like a clown show than anything else. I uploaded one clip out of what was really hours of just insanity. People banging on buckets with sticks to drown out the Trump supporters. I don't support Trump, and I don't support banging on pots and pans to destroy someone's free speech or to throw things at people. So, I look at those two groups. There's no side to pick. There's no side to pick there. So I see a lot of craziness in our day and age. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. We see this blind support of Sanders or Trump. And I look into their eyes. And for some, Hillary. But for most, it's down to Sanders or Trump. I believe that's what the populace is supporting. The two controlled opposition movements on the supposed left and right. And how a lot of people that have been apolitical for years are supporting Trump because he's saying things that are getting them off. It's the craziest thing. And so seeing that, and also the heartlessness towards the homeless and the heartlessness towards those with property but are being kicked off their property because they're not wealthy enough to have a septic and everything else. The gender warfare. This sense of brokenheartedness that's been lingering for several years in many of us. As we see the masculine, feminine in the world, man and woman divided, turned against each other. And a lot of them not realizing, from the younger generation to the older, how many of these jobs are being destroyed and outsourced by design. This is social engineering, and it keeps continuing and continuing. So I'm surviving one day at a time. I know that each day that I live in an environment, as long as I take care of my health, that I don't succumb to things like smoking, which I still am struggling with, because it helps me deal with the emotional Alex that I have to live with. Helps me tone it down a notch when my mind seems to be blowing open with ideas and energy, and my body at times feels constrained by my environment. I feel like I'm not moving fast enough. I feel like I'm not reaching enough people. And so I struggle on that level, but overall, I feel far healthier and at peace being a single man, for example, being in rural areas and not being constantly hit with all that stimulus of the city, not being constantly exposed to all those people. There's people that I'm exposed to that remind me of the people in the big city in some respects. The fact of the matter remains, and it will continue to remain, and it matters to me even if it doesn't matter to you. There's less of them. There's less smart meters. There's less cell towers. There's less technology. There's more access to nature. For example, I remember going to Portland, Oregon, and I would do a video here and there in Laurelhurst Park, but it was very rare when I could find a place at Laurelhurst Park just simply to be alone. Here, for the most part, I am alone. I see the articles about the toxic air in Portland, connecting another dot for the mental illness epidemic, not just happening to the homeless in Portland, but I would say regular people that think that they're sane because they have an apartment, because they have things going on. There's a lot of mentally ill people that are undiagnosed, that have been drawn to live and feed energetically off the Portland vibes. There's a little bit of craziness associated with that lifestyle, period. Drinking water that's been filtered, I go to the store and I spend 39 cents or 41 cents, however much it is, and I use the reverse osmosis filter. I never, ever, ever am drinking from urban taps. However, this is what a lot of people do. You know, there is geoengineering here. There's no escape from that. But when the skies are beautiful, my oh my, the skies are beautiful. You know, I just so happen to be in a part of North America where quinoa grows. And one day, viewers may move here with the actual drive to actually grow their own food and understand the benefit of growing a food that can grow natively, that can grow naturally, that can grow year after year. And things like quinoa, things like amaranth, crops like that. I mean, I'm still kind of scratching my head as to why it's not already being done in an off-grid setting. The troubles that Costilla County has brought the community are many, and I don't want to dwell on that now, but think about the idea of not being able to go into a county and be friends with certain people because certain people are watching. So I'm surviving one day at a time, and I'm taking this whole thing with Costilla County, as I said last Thanksgiving. You know, I came out here to live a more anonymous life. In the life off YouTube, that is. I don't run around handing out my card. I'm not handing out any cards right now. Right now, I am not walking around with any cards I have in the past. I might get some additional ones. It'll list all my websites on one card. Probably at some point, maybe in the next few months, because I am going to push the websites forward. But for the most part, I am seeking to be anonymous. And this day and age, you know, I have found that it's safer to do that because, you know, despite the assumptions that a lot of people are waking up, actually a lot of people have gone to sleep that used to be somewhat on the awakening path. And the awake and asleep cycle is a cycle. It isn't up and down. It is not a linear trajectory that's only going in one direction. It is very abstract, and it can go up a little bit in the cycle, and then it can go down a little bit. And who's to say where it's really going? But we're in something that is fairly abstract. And so when you have these ups and downs, you have issues with society. There's times where there's more romance. There's times where there's more breakup. There's times where there's more peace. There's times where there's more war. There's times where there are less babies being born. There are times where there are more babies being born based on the output of the sun and the cycle that the sun is in. There are periods where there are more people connected to nature, and there are periods where there are people that are being sucked into this matrix and this age of singularity. And we're in that cycle now. So there's many cycles, But these blanketed statements that people have made, we're all going to die or we're all waking up, it's bullshit. And yet notice how this world is mostly filled with not the middle way observers. They can see the totality of the yin-yang, but the absolutists. Oh no, we're all going to die. You're going to die, and if you're not already dead, you're an agent. Or something to that effect. And the awakening, oh, we're awakening. And those that won't get it will be left behind, although that was some 80s New Age theology. I'm sure there's some of that still around. Parallels to the Left Behind series. I mean, how many of them know how much their whole little everybody's waking up thing, like, and the rapture, the New Age rapture, parallels the Left Behind series? So, the thought does occur to me of growing much older in this world. And sometimes I become worried. As I become older and, I can get away with my more younger looks, I think, to a certain extent. And I see how the society treats older men when they're down and out, and it is horrific, and it is still not being recognized. And so, I do deal with that pondering of what will be of me in the future, even though I feel that I am not truly alone. I'm truly not alone in this universe and in whatever's going on in my life experience. There's other things going on behind the scenes, and certainly beyond arcanic, or that of the sinister. I also hope, I would like to see a world in which things do not continue to get progressively worse in their attempt to turn one group against another and convince much of the Western world that they have to be extremely concerned about darker-skinned human beings that may have Arabic or Persian features. I'm going to say this briefly and get back to the main topic. Consider this, in this Craigwolf scenario that they have unleashed with a false Islamic threat, and what events are happening in Europe without a doubt are staged, and people are put in certain places at certain times and rewarded to carry out certain acts of harassment, terror, and other. Of course, you're going to have genuine issues with gangs. Humanity is obviously going through a lot of pain right now, and that's going to express itself in a wide variety of ways, especially to the unconscious. What I'm trying to say is, when you create a cry wolf scenario, and you cry wolf and you cry wolf, and the real threat actually isn't there, when there is a threat to women's safety, as I've said, this coming Third World War, with America occupied by foreign troops, people like myself have warned about that. I haven't talked about it for years, but I'm going to make a video about that. People like myself have specifically warned people about why people will be more vulnerable than ever. Society itself, men and women, don't love and trust each other. We're slowly being disarmed. Our foreign enemies, foreign military armies are being built up by design. They're using Western technology. China has the monopoly on rare earth minerals. You don't have to be a geopolitical expert to understand that someone, something, somehow is orchestrating this. And what I see at the end of the day is a major threat to women's safety. I've been consistent. Y'all can say I go a little too far with some of that, but you can go back to my YouTube channel and see how long I've stayed on the topic because I care. Meanwhile, when you look at some other aspects of the alternative media, it's jumping around all over the place like a fucking rat on crack. I mean, it's literally like every year a different freak the fuck out, but there's no philosophy, there's no direction, there's no grounding, there's no recommendations to live off the grid. If they mention off the grid, it's off the grid is becoming illegal. Here's another reason why we're going to stay as bloggers in the city. Wow, we talk about Agenda 21. Wow, we're living Agenda 21 without even trying to get out. I will also refer people to my other video. The American refugees to the tune of millions, need to come together because the American people have held their silence. So I survive one day at a time with a sense of faith that I'm going to be all right because I've done the right things in this world, because there's more things for me to discuss. Spiritually, that makes me a target. One of the ways that the dark forces could torment those of us that are on the path is to target our own consciousness with fear of what could happen to us. A number of things, a number of scenarios, but fear. Fear, worry, anxiety. And so I know I live in a world where the unthinkable is possible. And at the same time, we live in a world of miracles. At the same time, and I do believe this in terms of our country and what's coming to it, the more, I don't want to use the word sin because I'm not necessarily, I'm not speaking out of the Bible. But one could certainly liken it to that. Evil actions, immorality, hurting others. And when you have a concentrated energy of that, it's going to bring that host trouble. And the hand of protection is removed. That's what's happening to America now. And that's why there's so much propaganda out there and racism. Oh, blame this group. Oh, snipe at those refugees. Oh, use Facebook and spew hatred. And there are people that don't understand that their souls are being compromised. At the same time, faith in the universe. Action through words, fearlessness, courage, bravery, to say the things that need to be said, to not succumb to that fear. And a lot of human beings are still imprisoned by a fear that they don't know has been implanted in them. Be afraid of going off grid. Be afraid of speaking out. They'll put you in a camp. They'll rape you. Be afraid to not do this. After all, if you go out there, somebody might rob you. Somebody might kill you. Just stay in the city. Just stay around police services. Just stay near the government. Just stay near your phone. Don't disconnect your phone. Your phone bill is numero uno in your life. And all these other false memes. Why is it that today's woman has to turn to technology for protection? What has happened? What has happened? I want to know what has happened. Because many women have been misled into thinking that the natural aspect of the masculine protecting the feminine, that is domination or control. It definitely is with some people. We definitely could see that with a lot of people that want to become police. Not all. It's actually been a while since I've actually met. I've met them over the years. I do got to say, this year and lately, including talking to the council members, there were a few smiling faces at the city hall. One guy did come up today at City Market and shake my hand. He told me to keep it up, which I did appreciate. That was just a few hours ago. But I also saw one of the council members. I don't believe he's the mayor. The mayor looks like a friendly guy. There's also an African-American man by the name of Ty. He came up to shake my hand. So there was two and a female that was nodding. He was fairly attractive. Then there was another female, another male, and they were doing the whole, we're going to look down and I even look at you. And it was like somebody They Live, like a male version of lady in the movie where she goes, I've got one that can see. It was like he was looking at me, and it was like he was scanning through me. Yesterday when I was getting a cup of coffee at Milagos, I was talking about solutions to homelessness, maybe set up a subdivision where people with RVs aren't treated as a criminal. And you know what? I wouldn't mind being in Alamosa County. Although, I'd like to be a little farther out. But, so I've been through all this, folks, and I am surviving one day at a time, knowing that this is a healthier lifestyle for me. But things are also getting fairly abstract because, I'm realizing at the moment I rather not go to the gym and deal with people right now. Gym people. Felt a lot of weird energy working out the Valley Health Fitness Club over the winter. A lot of angry energy. A lot of stuck energy. It's like, I don't know if I want to touch those weights those people are touching. So, healthy wherever I am on a daily basis. Eating food, which is something that I've struggled with most of my life. It's like I have an eating disorder. I don't eat enough. And because of the way a lot of people have treated me, I do refuse or say no thank you quite often when people offer me food. Because I've seen how people have tried to use things like that to control when people give. When people give to you. So I have been, and you've noticed, it's been months since I've asked for a place to park. Because I've given up and I've surrendered. I've given up and I've surrendered from this, the community ideal. And I am an independent person. The fact of the matter is, the universe put the resources that I needed in the first place to get the RV, and the first place to be able to drive the RV here, and to be able to buy the silver and gold coins, which I have been trying to turn into land. It's already been cashed in. Many of you would say I made a grave mistake. You know what? When you're in my situation and you're living one day at a time, sometimes investments need to be cashed out in order to move their life forward. As I sit here on April 22nd, 2016, I do have anxiety. Will I be here, though, just like this, just parking around throughout the summer, throughout the fall? Heaven forbid, am I going to spend another winter here? Parking around public spaces? Although this is one of the better public spaces to be. Although I'm one day at a time, I'm somewhere new, it seems, every few days. Every day to every few days. I keep moving. I don't park in dense neighborhoods. I park near natural areas or right in an urban area for a day or two if I have the energy for it. And I go back and forth between being a smoker and non-smoker, which has a huge impact on my mind, body, and spirit, and perhaps other things I don't even have the word for, in a way to where other people act like there are no things. There is no such thing as energy or being grounded or feeling centered. What's that? Ugh. And to not smoke, I have to be able to face the world as it is and feel everything. Everything. And being a big feeler, having a big heart, which is where a lot of that expressiveness and emotion comes from that you see in this video series. Whew. That takes some serious, ongoing, daily spiritual maintenance and personal work. To be in that state of, I'm going to feel just everything. No, I feel like I have the power. As I look at Blanca over here, I feel like I have the power to affect this matrix and to affect this world. And so, like the old Chinese parable goes, good luck, bad luck. I don't know what kind of test I'm being put through. It's like every year I'm going through some sort of test. Well, I'll get through this, okay? Boom, next level of the human experience. This full moon, I feel like this is a new chapter that's already begun. We're definitely going into the solar minimum. And so we're definitely moving out of that period. But again, a lot of stuff is rising to the surface right now with the full moon and the geomagnetic storms, emotions, thoughts, dreams, energy levels. Like the Chinese parable, good luck, bad luck, it may seem like bad luck that I'm not settled now on my private land. If I'm able to keep saving, I could end up with something great. Maybe even a home with a structure already on it. A rent-to-own situation, something I mentioned before. I'm not really seen living in a city and public spaces as a alternative. Unless, and only unless, I was involved with a team. I was not on my own, but involved with a team of researchers, documentary filmmakers, television producers, and we are cranking alternative media out of that studio. Group of 5 to 10 of us on rotation, morning, afternoon, and night. You know, all it takes is one person with the finances to watch this channel, to find this channel, and not have an ulterior motive to run multi-level marketing and get rich quick. That's what that Fruit Loop did in Texas that brought me down there. Again, I went from Portland to Dallas to Colorado. A millionaire pulled me to Dallas. He saw my talents and thought he would be able to use it for his own agenda. His own business model sucked, so his own agenda couldn't even get off the ground. It's not very funny to see someone with great wealth act with such greed. But it could be someone who's wealthy in land and resources. To have a barn and the passion. So, I live one day at a time. I am willing to travel across the country. I am willing. But it is only going to be an experience where we are actually working together and pumping out content. Information that the world needs to see. Make a documentary about World War III. Documentary about China and Russia and a lot of things that people just don't understand. The United States and their criminality and them outsourcing weapons technologies, getting specific with the weapons and the corporations, showing the chart. We need to open up minds, folks. You know, I felt for a while, and I haven't said this in a while, but that the summer of 2016 would be the period where it's clear we're going to World War III. Now we've just seen Russian jets buzz a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier in the Baltics, leading many people to believe that we're already at World War III. It's one way of looking at it. I see it as more of a show, regardless the information that these things are building. Be it a show or be it real, whatever it is. The people need to be aware. The people need to be aware. So I am surviving one day at a time. I may travel outside this region. If this is a time where those people that can make that happen are watching this channel and they can show me that they are legitimate. I have met some decent people along the road, but they are the minority. There are people that have invited me into their world because they had their own agenda in some cases. And that is an issue, that's something that I would describe both locally as well as people that I ran across in Portland. In some cases, people just want to vampire off my energy, maybe get some inspiration, but not actually be a true friend, not actually treat me with respect. And so I'm a little different of an Alex Ansary than a few months ago and a few years ago. I'm a lot more self-sufficient in the sense of economically being able to survive even without donations. But the problem is I want to get ahead in life. I don't want to just survive. I want to thrive. And I know you know the difference between someone living in their RV, spending their money on gasoline and maintenance costs, transmission repairs, insurance costs, registration costs, internet bill, food, and perhaps other things that may come along. AAA. Whereas another reality, being on land, investing in plywood, is far more desirable. Investing in concrete, investing in a septic tank, it may cost $5,000. You know what? If the house is great and the property is great, that can be achieved. Not right away, but that can be achieved. But that can't be achieved while your money is going to the road and the gas companies. So again, I really feel like this is some sort of a test. And I hope to pass this test. and I hope to move on to the next chapter of my life. You know, until that time comes, doing a little surveillance perimeter. Oh, the Archon drones are running surveillance again. Taking the human consciousness data back to the dark grid for analysis. People can try to analyze me all they want, I found, and still not understand my message. But there are some of you that are watching, there are some of you that get it, and I thank you. For now, Alex Answer here, sign off, April 22nd, 2016. Have a great day.